Are you having a hard time figuring out what to get Dad for Father's Day? Shop now at sportshistorynetwork.com/row1 and save 15% off your order when you check out Row 1 Brand's Vintage Sports Pictorium Gallery. They have America's best sports art. With over 7,200 historic sports prints, you're assured to find something unique for Dad this Father's Day. If he's an NFL buff, check out the 1963 vintage NFL helmet poster. Shop now at sportshistorynetwork.com/row1.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
Hello, sports fans, and welcome to another edition of Yesterday's Sports on the Sports History Network. In part 2 of Errors of Frustration, we'll start at number 12 and work our way down to number 9. At number 12, we have the 1964 to 1968 Baltimore Colts. During this 5-year stretch, the Colts had 6 future Hall of Famers on the team. On offense, they had Johnny Unitas, Lenny Moore, Raymond Berry, Jim Parker, and John Mackey. On defense, they had Gino Marchetti, although he only played on the 1964 and 1966 teams. In 1964, the Colts lost the NFL title game. They went 12-2 that season and were heavily favored to defeat the Cleveland Browns for the title. Instead, they were shut out by the Browns in a crushing 27-0 defeat. In 1965, they lost a heartbreaker in a playoff game to the Green Bay Packers, 13-10, on a last-second field goal. In 1966, they finished with a disappointing 9-5 record, but they came back strong in 1967 with an 11-1-2 record. It was their best record in team history. But believe it or not, even though they were tied for the best record in the league, the Colts were not eligible for any postseason play. Here's why. There were 4 divisions in the NFL at that time. The Cowboys won the Capital Division with a 9-5 record. The Browns won the Century Division with a 9-5 record. And the Packers won the Central Division with a 9-4-1 record, making all 3 eligible for the playoffs. The Colts were in the more competitive Coastal Division, and they went into the final game of the season with 11 wins, 0 losses, and 2 ties. Their opponent was the second-place Los Angeles Rams, who sported a 10-1-2 record. The 2 best teams in the league just happened to be in the same division. Whoever lost this game would not be eligible for the postseason. Fair or not, that's the way it was. The Rams won easily, 34-10, and just like that, the Colts were out. They bounced back strong in 1968 with what was thought to be perhaps the best team in NFL history up to that point. They finished the regular season at 13-1. Their only loss coming at the hands of the Cleveland Browns. They avenged that loss by humiliating the Browns in the NFL title game, 34-0. They went into the Super Bowl with a 15-1 record and had outscored their opponents 460-158. This included 4 shutouts. Their opponent in the Super Bowl would be the New York Jets. The Jets had a 13-3 record and were a very good team, but no one gave them a chance against this powerful Colts team. In one of the biggest upsets in sports history, the Jets defeated the Colts 16-7. The Colts won the NFL title in 1958, 1959, and 1968. They won the Super Bowl in 1970. At number 11, we have the 1966 to 1970 Dallas Cowboys. During this 5-year span, the Cowboys lost to the Packers in the NFL title game 2 years in a row, 1966 and 1967. The next 2 years, they lost to the Cleveland Browns in the playoffs. They finally made it to the Super Bowl the following year, only to lose to the Baltimore Colts on a last-second field goal. Perhaps their most disappointing season during this 5-year span was 1968. They had breezed through the regular season with a 12-2 record, outscoring their opponents 431 to 186. They would face the 10-4 Cleveland Browns in the playoffs. The Browns were a good team, but the Cowboys had easily defeated them during the regular season, 28-7. They had also handed the Browns a humiliating 52-14 beating in the playoffs the year before. Football fans everywhere looked forward to seeing the 12-2 Cowboys face the 13-1 Baltimore Colts in the NFL title game. But instead, the Cowboys played their worst game of the season and were defeated by the Browns 31-20. The Cowboys went on to great success in the 1970s. They defeated the Miami Dolphins in Super Bowl VI and would play in 3 more Super Bowls, winning again in Super Bowl XII. At number 10, we have the 1965 to 1972 Cleveland Browns. During the span of 8 years, the Browns made the postseason 6 times. This team featured Hall of Famers Leroy Kelly at running back, Paul Warfield at wide receiver, and Gene Hickerson at offensive guard. In 1965, Jim Brown's final season, the Browns lost a hard-fought game to the Packers in the NFL title game. After missing the postseason in 1966, the Browns returned to postseason play in 1967, but suffered a humiliating 52-14 loss to the Cowboys in the playoff game. The following year, they defeated the Cowboys in the playoffs, but then suffered another humiliating loss to the Colts in the NFL title game by a score of 34-0. In 1969, they again reached the NFL title game, only to lose big again. After missing the postseason in 1970, they made it back in 71. But once again, they were on the wrong side of the game, losing to the Colts 20-3 in the playoff game. Yet in 1972, they almost pulled off a major upset in the playoffs, leading the undefeated Miami Dolphins 14-13 late in the fourth quarter, but ended up on the short end once again, losing 20-14. The Browns won 4 AAFC titles from 1946 to 1949 before joining the NFL. They won the NFL title in 1950, their first year in the NFL. They won it again in 1954, 1955, and 1964. However, Browns fans haven't had much to cheer about since, unless you want to count the success of the Baltimore Ravens, who were the original Cleveland Browns before moving to Baltimore. At number 9, we have the 1939 to 1946 New York Giants. During this 8-year stretch, the Giants reached the NFL title game 4 times and lost every single one of them. This is not including a 1943 loss in the playoffs to the Redskins, which makes the actual tally 5 postseason losses in 8 years. 2 of those losses came at the hands of the Green Bay Packers, including a 27-0 defeat in 1939, a year when they posted a very impressive 9-1-1 record in the regular season. Another 2 losses came from the Bears including a 37-9 defeat in 1941. And the final playoff loss came from the Redskins when they were shut out 28-0. In spite of having 3 future Hall of Famers on offense, center Mel Hine and running backs Ken Strong and Tuffy Leemans, the Giants managed to score only 30 points in the 5 games combined. The Giants won the NFL title in 1934, 1938, and in 1956. They have also won 4 Super Bowls. Tune in again next week as we work our way down to the most frustrating eras for great NFL teams.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
We here at the Sports History Network proudly partner with 26 podcasts, all revolving around the history of sports. But did you know that many of our hosts were sports history authors way before they started their shows? It's true. We've got Joe Ziemba, host of When Football Was Football, Joe Zagurski, host of Pro Football in the 1970s, Mark Morthier, host of Yesterday Sports, Tommy Phillips, host of Lombardi Memories, and Scott Adamson, co-host of From the 55-Yard Line. All these authors have many books for you to choose from. To check them out, go to our website at sportshistorynetwork.com/sportshistorybooks. Pick up your copy today. Soundtrack provided by Kevin MacLeod of filmmusic.io.